Good morning, everyone. It's time for our spiritual mindfulness moment. Sorry, I'm adjusting some things on my YouTube. So come in and join for this moment of time together, of connecting our spirits together and with heaven. Good morning, Vince. Good to see you. It's a time when we connect our spirits together and connect our spirits to the divine for just a moment of peace, shalom, wisdom, power. So yeah, let me know where you're joining from. I love to hear place, and that just gives me a sense of location, of connection with you. Thank you for the likes, Vince. Wow, I've got you on YouTube and TikTok. So I'm going to light a candle this morning. Sometimes I do incense, sometimes I do a candle. So I'm going to light my candle. We've been talking a lot this week about who God is. I have my prayer beads that I use. So for our purposes of spiritual mindfulness, God can be whoever you need God to be, as a safe place, a safe haven, a safe person for you. So you're welcome to have your coffee with you and just get a relaxed spot. And let's spend some time together connecting our spirits and connecting with the divine that is over the universe. Please, Jesus, don't let the trolls find us. Well, unfortunately, I guess if we are reaching out to the world, the trolls will find us. So yeah, come in and join us. This is our spiritual mindfulness moment as we're on this unconventional pursuit of 21st century spirituality together. I'm not quite ready to give up the divine, even if I get hit by both the Christian and atheist trolls for doing so. So again, as you're joining, just let me know where you're joining from and just get very comfortable. Let's take deep, peaceful breaths. Sometimes I tell people it's good to have a piece of paper nearby. If you have a thought of like, oh, I have to deal with that for the day, write it down real quick on your piece of paper and let it go from your mind and from your spirit so that you can be free to be at peace in this moment. So we just open ourselves to the knowledge that we are supernatural and mystical creatures, that we innately know this as young people with imaginary friends or some ability to see something supernatural in the world that we then get trained as we grow to not see anymore. So just come and sit with us together. Just imagine yourself as not just matter, oxygen, nutrients that come together to form you, but the energy and essence of you that is your spirit. And then think about how that spirit can be buoyant around and even outside your body. Thank you for that follow. The eyes of fate. Let me know where you're joining from if you're here. I love to know our connection of place. I'm in Fresno, California, right in the middle of the state of California. And I just bless my spirit to connect with yours today. This is a moment of spiritual connection, of connecting with one another and with the divine, just to give ourselves a moment of inspiration and strength as we head on into the rest of our week. And you can catch it on TikTok or YouTube, wherever you're joining from now. Hi, Carmel, Indiana. Good to see you today. So I bless this moment. When I have my beads, I use them to think of each bead as an individual prayer, just to help me focus in on a thought of like praying for my family, my wife, my daughter, my son, giving them blessings for their life today, strength and energy to run with all they need to do. Pray for my home, my business, all of those things I give blessing to today. And I call for well-being and health to myself. Like I said, there is an innateness to know that we are able to connect to something supernatural, something bigger than us, something that is the container of the universe. As the universe is expanding, we're told by science. My question is always, what is the container that we're expanding into? What is bigger than the universe? Good morning, Crazy ZZ. Good morning, user 899. Love to know where you guys are joining from. And if there is something supernatural that's bigger than the universe, I want to know, can I connect to that? Am I, in fact, a part of it? Am I like a river that flows and then goes over the edge of the cliff and suddenly isn't one body of water anymore, but a bunch of droplets of water that are for this moment individual and then come back together as a river again? Is our spirit a part of a whole that we, for this finite time in this container called a body, we become separate beings until we're reunited again? And we can have some sense of that even as we're here in this form, in this body. Hi, Virginia. Hi, Tennessee. Thanks for joining today. So get really comfortable and let's do a little guided time of prayer and meditation together today. Thank you for following me, The Real Joseph. We see this even in the Christian Bible. And trust me, you don't have to be Christian to join us and connect today. Just human. I'll answer some questions when we're finished, guys, but not while we're in the middle of it. But you'll be welcome to ask, and we'll try to get to those when we come back at the end. This is Romans 8:30. It says, "And those whom he predestined, he also called, and those whom he called, he also justified, and those whom he justified, he also glorified." And so I believe justification, goodness, wholeness, righteousness comes from heaven. Hi, Rosie. Good morning. Comes from heaven. There is a goodness that is delivered, that what Jesus prayed was, let it be on earth as it is in heaven. And he would say, then advance the kingdom of heaven on earth. It was this idea of connecting to something of the goodness of heaven and advancing it on earth. So some would read Romans 8 and say, well, those he justified means those who have prayed a sinner's prayer and become a Christian, they're glorified. But to me, that's making the act of righteousness that comes from heaven very small and very human controlled and very human manipulated. But that, I believe, that glorification of our spirit comes when we understand our relationship with heaven and our partnership with it, not this divisive, I'm right, you're wrong, and someday I'll get to go to heaven. And it says in Colossians that we're seated with Jesus in heavenly realms. Glorification is not something of human manipulation and control that I get to decide who gets it and who doesn't. It's available to all who understand their connection to the divine. And it doesn't come through a Christian lens only. Christianity explains to us a pathway for that connection. But it doesn't mean people have to be Christian to understand their connection to the divine as a spiritual being. Psalm 139 is a beautiful poem, and I am very sorry that often it gets absconded by extreme anti-abortionist right-wingers to misinterpret it to be a conception, a beginning of life passage, which it is not. But it's a beautiful look at what life looks like and the connection of this life to the life of heaven. Psalm 139:7 says, I can never escape from your spirit. I can never go someplace where I can't be connected to the spirit of heaven. It says, I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you're there. If I go down to the grave, or I go down to Sheol, the holding place, the holding tank for the dead, you are there. The spirit of heaven is there. If I ride on the wings of the morning, if I dwell by the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me. And your strength will support me. I could ask that the darkness would hide me from this spirit of goodness. Hi, Brittany. I could ask that the darkness hide me and the light around me become night. But even in darkness, I cannot hide from you, from the spirit of heaven. Darkness and light are the same to you. Thank you for the kind wishes there, Max. Thank you, Jamie, for your help this morning. Bless your kids this morning. So think of that, of the divine. Sometimes we think, well, if there's sin in my life, God's not going to want to connect with me. I have no connection to the divine because I am a sinner. I'm a horrible, terrible person. But Psalm 139, thank you, Big Minnie. Psalm 139 says, it doesn't matter if I took myself even to the holding tank of the dead. By the way, that Sheol is not a hell place of eternal damnation. It was a place in the Hebrew thought of just like a holding tank, like I said. So if I go to the holding tank for dead people, even there I can interact with the divine, with the goodness of heaven. So tell me how that being true in the alliteration of the poetry of Psalm 139, that you can do something that would make this spirit of goodness from heaven say, well, nope, not going to be with you today because you're an evil, terrible person. Now that's human beings telling you that. That's human beings that want to have a religion that makes them better than others, mostly out of a sense of lack, that then says, I'm going to be smugly self-righteous through my Christianity rather than letting Christianity be a vehicle to connect me to something of the divine that makes me want goodness to come to everyone. So I just wipe that shame of religious condemnation off you and tell you that you cannot even go to hell if you could take yourself there and find, now I've gotten myself away from the spirit of goodness of heaven. It cannot happen. If you're committing the worst sin you could ever imagine, even there, the spirit of goodness of heaven would be with you. So I bless you with that today. Hi, Random Christine. Hi, one of my favorites. Volksine, hi. So if you can't even go to hell, to the holding tank of the dead, and get away from the spirit of goodness of heaven, what would take you away from being connected to that spirit today? The answer is nothing. So I bless you with that blessing of connection to heaven today. So let's go into a time of mindfulness today. Get in a comfortable spot. Take in a deep breath, let it out. Deep cleansing breath, let it out. Feeling my spirit grow and almost come out of my body as I understand my essence, my presence as a spiritual being, and allowing that spirit to be connected to yours, to the names I see on the screens that tell me where you're joining from. It gives me a spiritual connection place with you right now. And so imagine the names you see on the comments on the screen of the names and the places of people that are joining us. And if you haven't shared where you're joining us from, do that now. But imagine your spirit able to come out of your body and connect to the whole of the community that's here together this morning. What a good place to be together as spiritual beings. Hi, Chicago. Hi, Florida. I just allow my spirit to connect to you today. Freeport, Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Mexico. I love being connected with you. Denver, Chicago, Canada, North Dakota. So imagine yourself now connected with those people of those places. Let's go to our mindfulness time and let's enter our safe space in our spirit. If you're new to this, just imagine a safe space somewhere in your life where you felt connected to heaven. Just imagine yourself there. And it can be a real place. It can be an imaginary place. It can be a space you were in the real world. It can be a space you were in your imagination or your inner world. But it's a space that you can see when you close your eyes and you can feel safe there. Hi, Pennsylvania. Hi, T-Wash. Just picture yourself now in that safe space. See the sights, look around, smell the smells, hear the sounds. What is it that drew you to that space? Feel that safety and that drawing of your spirit there now, even as you're connected with the whole of us here together today. You're sitting, seeing this safe space. What does it smell like? What does it look like? What does it feel like to be there? Just imagine all of your senses partaking in being in this safe space where you can connect to heaven. It's a wonderful place to be. And I bless you to be there. It's almost as if we're all sitting together in the same safe space at the same time. Such a wonderful sense of being together. So now imagine what it would feel like for the presence of the divine of heaven to join you in that space. If you can't just sit and enjoy the safety of your safe space, but if you can, what would it be like for God, if you will, to come join you there, the Spirit of heaven? And it doesn't have to be the God of Christianity or the God you knew as a kid. It can be however you would imagine the presence of heaven, the goodness of heaven to be in that space with you. To, if you want to put it in a body and have it sit with you or have them sit with you, you can do that. Or if you just want to feel like there's a presence of goodness with you, feel that, just sense right now, what would it feel like for the goodness of heaven to be with you in your safe space? A moment with no worry, of releasing that anxiety and letting it go, even feeling your body Relax in this moment. So we bless the presence of heaven that has joined us. We're so grateful. Thank you for coming. We're interacting with heaven right now. Our spirits are going beyond the finite containers of our body, going beyond the world around us and understanding our connection of ourselves to ourselves in heaven, that we are seated in heavenly realms, that even if we go to Sheol, the spirit of goodness of heaven comes with us. So we don't summon the spirit of goodness to be with us. We just become aware that it is. Thank you, Random Christine. I'm so happy. We're just creating an awareness that the spirit of goodness come from heaven is with us in this moment, and that we're good enough for the spirit of goodness to be with us, that we're worthy to interact with heaven. And there may be a little voice in the back of your head right now saying, well, that's not you. You know you're not good enough to be connected to heaven. And I tell you, that voice is a liar. That is not the voice of heaven. That is a voice from your life that has told you that. And I just dismiss that voice right now and bless the voice that tells you you can and are worthy to be connected with the spirit of goodness that's with you right now in your safe space. Because you are good. You are good because you exist, because you are fearfully and wonderfully made, because you are, not because of what you do, or not bad because of what you haven't done. You are not a human doing, you are a human being. And I love you because you exist. Because you suck in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, you belong with me. You're welcome, Tiwash. So now if you can sense that spirit of goodness around you, I like that feeling. Just let your spirit ask what you need to ask today of that spirit of heaven. You may want to just say, what do I need to know today? What do I need to know about myself? Am I really good? Is Pastor Paul right that I belong connected to the spirit of heaven? Am I really good? You may want to ask, are my kids going to be okay? What do I need to know about my goals and my hopes and my dreams? And then just stop for a moment and listen and see what resonates in your spirit. What pictures, what imaginations, what thoughts come into your brain or into your heart or into your gut? What would heaven say to you today? Did you hear from heaven? It's okay if you didn't. We're learning this mindfulness together every week as we exercise our ability to understand our connection into the divine, into the spirit world, into the mystical of heaven. Many of us have had that sense sort of cut off by our religion. And so we're trying to restore something that we had as children that was taken away from us as we grew. But if you did hear from heaven, I bless that today. I bless that word for you, that it will take root and hold in your spirit. And if it was a word that said, you're less than or you're not good enough, I just tell you today that that's not a word from heaven about you. That is something that has connected your spirit to a critique of you, that is not the essence of who you are. It may be the truth of something that you've done, but it doesn't make you anything less than who you were created to be. So I wipe away that guilt and shame for that act, for that thing that makes you feel less than. And I tell you, you are an amazing being seated with God in heavenly realms, worthy to connect to the Spirit of goodness today, just as you are, just as you are, just as you are. So let's thank and have a spirit of gratefulness for the Spirit of goodness having joined us today. We bless you, Spirit. We bless you, God. We love you and are so grateful that we are a part of something bigger than ourselves, of something good that is beyond what we can conjure as goodness on this earth or what we can conjure as religion. We are grateful to be able to connect in a way that maybe we've never known before. So now I bless your spirit to come back into your present, into this moment together. You can open your eyes. And I would love to hear from you. What was that experience like? What did it feel like to be with the Spirit of heaven? Can you put it in the comments in some brief way to say here on YouTube or TikTok? What was it like to be with that Spirit? What did that Spirit say to you today into your spirit? Grace says nostalgic. I'm not making any claims at all. Random Christine says cleansing. Nina says peace, a smile, a place of safety. That's beautiful, Nina. Thank you. Can you share, if you're watching on YouTube as well, share in the comments, what was the moment like for you to be with the Spirit of heaven? I return back to the visions that God's given me. Wow, that's awesome, T-Wash. I bless those visions that you've had in the past to come into the present and be real in your life. Laura Skinner said she had a deep rest. That's beautiful. Nina says, so grateful. Random Christine says, forgiving. Yeah, when goodness flows to us, goodness begins to flow out from us as well. The work of the claim is, I'm different than I used to be. I am my own witness to my ability to connect. And I don't claim that you have to believe it, and I'm in no way desiring to prove it so that you can change and be something different than what you want to be. And Jarrell says, chill, he is the good Christian, I promise. Yeah. Anybody else want to share? I'll tell you what I felt. I just thought of my love for my kids. I have 2 children. And I thought about having the same love for myself. AFOAT, I don't know how to pronounce that, says, reminded me of my meeting place with God by the river as a kid. Sorry, my eyes are watering and hurting a little bit. The Spirit of heaven was saying, what if the love you have for your children, you had for yourself? How would that make you feel? God is love. You are representing what we all should strive to be. Thank you, Nina. Do you need a God to have a feeling for your children? I didn't even say that. So now you're just making things up. But what if I was able to have that same compassion for myself? Thank you, Vince, for the likes. How would my life be different if that self-love was just as present as the love for my children? And I saw if it were like the flaws of me, the things I've done that make me think less of myself, and just had this sense of, sorry, let me grab a napkin here. Those flaws are actually what make me beautiful and unique. The dings of life are actually like a statue that has had the hammer and the gavel, or whatever, the chisel, that has taken out parts of them to create a beautiful masterpiece. And that is me. That is my life. If I can have compassion for the dings of life that have made me into something of a masterpiece, of something unique and beautiful, but still a part of the whole, a part of you, would be an incredible way to see myself. That's very hard to see myself, but in these moments of sitting with the spirit of goodness, I can start to imagine what a world could be where I would have such compassion for myself and such love for myself. And I share that with you today. So I give you blessing and strength, hope and energy today. I call for you a self-compassion and self-love. Thank you, the real Joseph Gonzalez. And I just say, you are beautiful just as you are. And I call that voice to overwhelm the voices that tell you you're less than, that you're not enough, that you need to be fixed. Because out of understanding our beauty just as we are, goodness starts to flow from us, and we do become our better selves. But it starts with us understanding our own value. And I share that from my spirit to yours today. Amen. All right, I'm going to put out my candle and we can just chat for a bit. I've got maybe 10 minutes. I love blowing out the candle and seeing the smoke rise, and it's almost symbolic of my heart's cry, my prayers going to heaven. I love this moment. So, what do you want to ask? What do you want to share? Laura says, thanks for the love. I feel here, left church 3 years ago. I feel your spirit. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Indarao. Yeah, there's just a place in Christianity that has a need to be condemning of anything that doesn't match its own interpretation of things. And I feel very sorry for people trapped inside of that. We saw a bunch of them out in Dealey Plaza in Dallas yesterday, waiting for John F. Kennedy Jr. to show up, who's been dead for 22 years. Grace Kimmy says, I miss my relationship with God. I feel hurt by the church. Grace, send me a DM if you like. We can communicate. Man, I so understand that hurt by the church. The church is a mean place. The church is a self-righteous, self-actualizing place that gets some of its value by condemning people. So I tell you, your hurt is real, and I sit with you in that pain. But I tell you, the church is not God. The Church of America hardly is a representation of God at all anymore. It is man-made. It is a man-made view and interpretation of a beautiful book of the Bible. So I bless you to pursue your spirituality in this 21st century in a way that isn't constrained by a man-made religious system of any sort, but is just the goodness of heaven saying, I want to connect with you and I want you to connect with each other. And if I can help you in that journey at all, send me a DM. T-Wash says facts. Random Christine says me too. Pastor G says, good morning, friends. Thanks for your words this morning. Johnny says, I've done wrong in my life and I feel I can't go back. So Johnny, why would that make you any different than the rest of us? I've done wrong too. And I can make amends for things. Brene Brown is one of my favorites. I would encourage you to look up Brene Brown's stuff on YouTube, but she has this great saying that says, guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am wrong. Guilt says I did something bad. Shame says I am bad. And Johnny, I tell you, you may have done something bad, but that doesn't mean you are bad. That means you're human. And you did what you needed to do to try to feel safe or valued. For some reason, that was a lack in you. But as a human being, you had to reach out for something to make you feel fulfilled. And now you can start to be fulfilled in your own beauty and value. And that can allow you to go back and clean up the messes of human interaction. And where you can't clean it up, you can make amends by saying, I'm going to live out of my goodness going forward. I'm going to be different tomorrow than I was yesterday. And in that, you will see the interaction with the goodness of heaven, the spirit of heaven that says, you visited me in prison. Therefore, I will say, well done, even in the midst of all you've done. Grace Kimmy says, thank you, Pastor Paul. You're welcome. Nina Firestorm, thank you for the gift, Geneva. That's really kind of you. And for those of you on YouTube, you can see that you can help support what I do by joining my Patreon page and subscribing to Patreon, or by giving me a gift via Venmo. If you're on TikTok, you can go into my bio, and these are linked in the link tree. None of it is required. You don't have to give me money. You can join one of my events. I'm having a Deconstruction You discussion group starting this Sunday. Again, the information is in my link tree. And Deconstruction You, we're talking about what does it look like to pursue a spiritual life that's different than what we've been taught the spiritual life is. Nina says, I tell myself that Jesus is not the church. I won't turn from Jesus because the church hurts me. And that's hard. And sometimes even the idea of Jesus becomes a stumbling block for us when we've been hurt by self-righteous, smug people in the church. Geneva says, good day. Thank you. Thanks for an uplifting moment this morning, says Lisa. Do you have a schedule? When are you live? If you go to pastor-paul.com, you can sign up for my newsletter, and I send it out through my newsletter, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and click and get notifications there. It tells on the page how you do that. And that's the best way. And of course, follow me on TikTok, and TikTok will tell you, you can get notifications from TikTok when I'm going live. This spiritual mindfulness moment I do every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific. And it's recorded and preserved on YouTube, so you can see it there. By the way, the guy that was asking for my credentials as a pastor, I never answer those questions, because there's nothing I'm going to say that will be enough for somebody that's bringing that question. But they're on the wall back there just in case anybody wants to know. But I never answer that question. It's just a Pharisaical question of trying to be a trans, and so it doesn't matter what my answer is. It's not going to be enough for the person that asked that question. So I never answer that question. I live by the rule that just because somebody asks me a question on social media does not require an answer from me. And in fact, that's how Jesus lived his life. The Pharisees often asked questions, and he said, just because you're asking me a question doesn't mean I have to answer. So yeah, again, if you could financially support what I do, and I don't pass the offering plate, I don't ask for tithes, I don't take up what's it called when a missionary goes out and gets those support, that support. I just say, hey, subscribe to my stuff. If you like it, you can go to my Patreon page and subscribe. And for $5.99 a month, you make a big difference in my life. This is what I do for a living. And I want to bring this unconventional spiritual life to people who have been ostracized by the church. Indurao says, I actually am curious, mostly because I'd love to know where teaches your style of the church. I don't know if you can find it in a church building. The building, that meeting in a building. Thank you for the likes, Vince. Thank you for the gifts, everybody on TikTok. That's beautiful. I started a church in a building and led it for 10 years and said, we're going to be different. We're going to actually care about the community. We're going to care about our city. We're going to change the world. And there's just something about evangelicals when you get inside that building. And I would say, we're not going to do programs. We're not going to do church like it's been done before. We're going to inspire each other to go out and change the world. And everybody in that building was like, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. When is the men's group meet? When is the women's prayer study? When is our worship night? They can't help but get sucked into believing church is in the building. And there are really good pastors out there doing good things. And so I know my statement isn't 100% true, but thank you for the hearts there, Nina Firestorm. And so I just don't know if I can say, well, here's the denomination that follows what I say, because I'm not a part of a denomination. I was ordained in the Vineyard Association of Churches, but even the Vineyard has really gone strongly right wing when it was born very much out of the Jesus movement, the hippie movement. So I don't know that there is a denomination or a church that I can say, yeah, they're kind of the same cut as me. Anna says, what about the idea that 2 Timothy, all scripture is God-breathed and wouldn't have referred to the New Testament? That is an argument you could make. So first off, I don't think 2 Timothy was written by the Apostle Paul. As we say, it was written by somebody else. And it was one of the later writings. So, we know that in the book of Peter, it refers to the writings of Paul. So these writings would already have been started to be making the rounds to people. So you can make an argument they were talking about the New Testament there, but yeah, it's the canon that we know as the Protestant Bible now absolutely did not exist. And people are still arguing about what books should be in there and what books shouldn't be. So it's not an absolute of like, no, the New Testament didn't exist, so they couldn't have been talking about that. But what they were talking about is very arguable, and the Protestant evangelical interpretation of what that God-breathed mean is way off. Thanks for the question, Anna. That was beautiful. Well, skull to you, kind sir. You're one of my favorite TikTokers and a wonderful person. All right. Thank you, guys. I got to run and get moving on my day. So blessings to you and your day. Thank you for joining me. If you joined late in this, it is available on my YouTube page, Pastor Paul TikTok. If you're on TikTok, you can get the link in my bio. So thank you guys for the gifts, the roses, the hearts. The Lord's daughter says, bye. Nina Firestorm says, thank you, and sends a rose. Thank you, guys. Bless you. Have an amazing day, an amazing week, and know you're better than what the church tells you you are. Keep pursuing that unconventional spiritual life of the 21st century. I bless you. Amen. We'll see you, YouTube. Have a great day.